Okay, hi, welcome back to Learn to DJ in VR. I'm Sawtooth, and this is the equipment video. So, we're going to first talk about the mixer, and then the next video, we're going to talk about the CDJ. And then we're going to devote a video to the turntable and also to the VJ controller, but this is a general MIDI controller, so it's like kind of a copy of say an Akai APC40. Um, we're gonna kind of briefly go over this because it's not key to DJing. It's sort of at the end with the VJ stuff. So right now we're in the mixer, and the mixer is the most important part because it's like how you connect to the outside world. So all of your stuff comes together and it feeds right through here in this mixer. Now this is a replica of the DJM900 NXS2, which is one of the latest ones from Pioneer. It's not really a lot. For a long time, the DJM900, which looks just like this, was the standard mixer. So it looks really familiar. There's only a few extra features that have been added. The new one has a screen, which is really cool. So you can, if you have your laptop hooked up, you have your screen right here. And it has extra ports for laptops to plug in. A lot of great features, but most of the functionality is just the same as the 900, which came out like 20 years ago. Okay, so let's get into it though. No more messing around. Here we go. Let's got our selfie cam and let's bring it in here. Okay, so this is the mixer. Just a brief overview. Mixer is kind of broken up into three parts, right? So we have this sort of part here, which is the input and preview sections. So over here, and the middle, which is actually the music. So it's all the channels, and then the final, which is sort of the output, or what's going out of the mixer. So in the real world, in the back here, there would be a pair of XLR cables that would come out, and that would be your master out, and that would go to your amplifier and your speakers or whatever you're hooking into, maybe a mixing board for a larger PA set. If you're the DJ and there's a band playing, you're not the only sound source, so your sound source will be piped into a larger mixer, and then so on and so forth. So this mixer is just the same as one of those larger mixers. It's just only got 4 channels, and we don't really need like 48 or 24. This mixer, like usually most DJs don't need more than 4 sources of audio at the same time. There are, people who play have 6 decks at the same time and stuff like that, and you can get a bigger mixer. There's nothing stopping you. But this mixer is actually kind of made for DJs because it has this crossfader down here. So, but going over the TribeXR DJ, if you hover over the mixer, you'll notice that some of the buttons light up and some of them don't, right? See, we have like this one here. This knob does not light up. This knob up here does not light up. These Not every knob or button. And that's because we don't have access to that as a functionality in in TribeXR. So in Tribe, we only have one microphone. So the two is just there because that's what it looks like in real life. They want to give you an authentic experience. So even these, USB ports up here, they're useless, but that's really how it looks, and so just understand that. Also, understand that some of these things, the settings when we move them, you can move it up and down. If you need to reset it, you just click the A button, and it will, you know, move it. And we can't see this. You can't see this in the camera. But whenever I hover over any of these with the blue light, it's going to show me the name of that parameter, and it's going to show me sometimes the value that I'm changing in certain cases. Um, but let's kind of go over these buttons in detail. The first, you know, the way that the music flows through the mixer is it starts from the input, which will start up here, and it goes down this mixer channel till we get to this fader. And then the fader decides which part of the crossfader it's on, and then it sends that signal to the master, and then the master goes out. So I know it seems like really basic, but just to understand that, you start out from up here. So this is the trim, and then this is sort of like the power for the channel. How much power does this channel need? um, CDJs and vinyl kind of output at different levels, so they might need a different set of trim, different trim setting. Um, you know, different instruments have different inputs and outputs, and if you notice just above the trim, we don't have access to them, but this is actually the channel input, and this is what it looks like in real life. You can take a look closely and see. In real life, you would switch between, a lot of times when you don't hear any music, this is the first place to check. Is your input, do you have the correct input selected? And then from there, you can see, and you should be able to see music light up. If I load in music here, let's see, what do we got here? Load up a song. So we can see we have our volume right here. Okay, and we can set, usually the trim is set at the beginning. All right, usually the trim is set at the beginning. So usually we kind of set this once at the beginning of the mix, and we don't really play with it. Sometimes you might have some songs, like older songs, need a little bit more boosting, but just remember to reset it back to its where you had it before. And like I said, just press the A key if you ever need to set a knob back to its default in Spark, or sorry, in Tribe. Um, Now, moving down the chain here, we have the EQ, and the EQ is high, mid, and low. And you need to check out the video on frequencies and general sound physics to understand, if you need more understanding about these, but really, it's pretty self-explanatory. This is covering the bass, this is covering instruments like the guitar and the keyboards and the vocals, and then this is sort of bringing things like the higher ends down, like your cymbals and hi-hats and instruments that live in the higher, frequencies. So we'll use these a lot of times to help us in the mix. You don't want two bass lines going at the same time, so we might say cut the bass on one as we're mixing it. Moving down, we have another section here for what's called color effects, and these are just helpful little mixers. I use them sometimes, like the filter is probably the one I use the most, where I'll set it on, and then as soon as I start to put this up, what will happen is you'll hear the music. So if you want to hear, so there we go. So it just applies like a really strong filter, and it's great if you just need a quick mix from one song to the other. You can filter that entire channel out and let the other one take over. Moving down, the most important part of the mixer for the DJ is the cue button. And the cue button is there to cue up the songs. So it's lining the next one up in the queue. And we want to be able to hear it before everyone else hears it. So that's what this allows us to do. Now you just select the channel that you want to hear, and when you do, if you take a look, it'll turn like a brighter yellow. when it's selected. And then if you look over here, we have a little control here for our headphones and for our volume and what part of the mix are we hearing in our headphones. Now, in TribeXR, all we have to do is just hold our controllers. So this is in my hands, the controller. I'm going to hold it up by my ear, and when I do, you'll see that shows us, and that gives us access to the Q channel and allows you to hear two different music streams at the same time in your headphones. A very clever work by TribeXR. So it allows us to queue up and listen to our output mix at the same time in our headphones. Doesn't seem like much, but it's pretty big thing. So you can choose any one of these channels. You can also choose the output mix. So it's important to kind of hear what your mix sounds like at the end. It might sound great like in your headphones, but how does it sound when they're mixed together? So we have access to these all. And when we've come down to the channel, finally we get to the bottom here and we have our fader. Now, if you set your gain right, you should just be able to put your fader right up to the top without thinking. And that's what it's there for. It's for you to be able to go boom, like without you having to worry, like, oh, I can only put it up to 7. That's not the way that's not what the fader was designed for. I've seen people, clubs, like try to put tape and stuff like this so DJs can't put it up above, but it's not really designed for that. That up top line is meant to be the maximum. And then, like I said, you set your gain up here in the gain structure. So that's kind of the way it works. And finally, the fader brings us down to the cross fader. So we have an A port and a B port. And in Tribe, we have the option to select these, and in the real world too. These are like little switches. Just be mindful in Tribe. Sometimes they can catch when you're using the crossfader. And also, the crossfader itself has a few settings, which are, basically our curves and like how strong is our crossfader working. So if we set here, we have this setting is more for scratch DJs who like to cut in and out. They're like wick, 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 wick. With this crossfader, they might be like this. So as soon as you cut it in, the sound is in, but as soon as you cut it out, it's out. So you have more of a hard gate here. Or you can have more of a gradual mix cross. Now, this one I don't like as much because what happens is neither song is at full level when you're in this mode here. So I usually keep it at that mode. And then this is the same thing, like how quick, how strong, of a curve is this affecting it. I usually, again, keep it all the way across. The final thing, the mixer is just over here. We have some effects. Again, these are very similar to these color effects, but they're timed to the beat. And you can actually select, do you want it one bar, one beat, eighth note, quarter note, things like that. And there are echoes and flangers and things like that. But one important thing to note is that your music has to be analyzed, and it has to have a good grid, in order for all this stuff to work really well. So you have to prepare your files and things like that. I don't really use this too much. Some people use these to like fade out. So if you just like click on that, it turns the effect on, and then you just choose which channel you want the effect to run on, and then which effect. And then here is like the depth of that effect. How strong is that effect? So I some people use them to sort of echo out of one song, into another, but I tend not to use this too much. So that's kind of the mixer, right? So we have our input stuff. One more part that I forgot, totally forgot. And Tribe, it's kind of funny with Tribe. So I'm still getting my head around. Is we actually have a microphone and we can talk over. Now in real world, this is exactly how it looks, and you have a microphone plugged into the back. But In this case, it's actually, you got to set up your system microphone and other things like that. So in here in TribeXR, and then what you do is you just switch your microphone on. You can hear it there in my voice doubling, and usually we'll turn down the bass because part of that's the part of the mic that will usually catch the feedback. Usually, in a real world situation, you have a DJ with a microphone who's in front of a monitor, and that monitor is playing the music back, and that could cause feedback. So we usually turn the EQ low. We'll cut the bass on the microphone so it doesn't feed back as much. And I would say do that in VR as well, in case you have any situations. But that's the whole mixer. So we have our input, we have our channels, and we have our channel flow, right? And then we have our crossfader here at the bottom, and our effects section. So in the next video, we're going to go over this CDJ and how that one works out. All right. Thanks a lot, and I will catch you on the flip side.